Hello, vinyl community. This is Melvin Ramon. Let's talk about music. It's been about a week since I've been on to doing this. Said just in the mood. I was going to knock one out today. A few minutes before I went on to do this, I heard of the passing of Corrosion of Conformity drummer Reed Mullen. Pull this out and put it on a few minutes. This is their self-titled album from I think 2012. This was a gift to me from a really cool guy who happens, looks like it's clear vinyl, who happens to do their sound from time to time. His name is John Hopkins. I met him through some online forums, tours around bands. He'll email me and, get to hang out with him at shows. It's really cool. Anyway, Corrosion of Conformity started out as a hardcore band, moved through crossover thrash, and then into kind of a stoner rock type of thing, southern rock and slower, heavier. And when this came around, this was the original three-piece lineup. They went back somewhat to the crossover thrash sound. I happen to be pretty fond of this. Crossover thrash is one of my first loves, and they were, one of the major bands in that. So in the teenage metal years, I was really digging them. Throughout the years, some records have hit me, some haven't. I've always still really liked that band, and it's a real bummer to hear the man has left us. Haven't heard anything about the cause, but it's really unfortunate. And so I'll be spinning that in memoriam in a little bit here. Next up here we have Mdou Moctar. Hopefully I am pronouncing that not too horribly wrong. Ilana the Creator is the album. Look at that gatefold. I just love a great shot like that. Steve Carlson brought this up on his show. And, I hadn't heard of it, but I am a fan of the Tuareg desert blues, as they call it, sound. It's kind of this, it's based on African folk music, but they've added in the influence of electric guitar rock, particularly Jimi Hendrix, and other American electric blues artists. I just absolutely love that sound. It's really captivating, hypnotic. Bands like Tenarwin can make it more relaxing. This is, a more cathartic type take on it to my ears. A little more, I can definitely hear the Hendrix influence. Lots of, it sounds super good, loud, just kind of electric guitar work. Not really like anything else you'll hear from the Western world, so that's pretty awesome that this stuff is getting out there. There's a great live on KEXP from him out on YouTube to check out. Next up here is Eighth by 11th Dream. It's just a black vinyl release. Not really much in the insert. Indie rock band from the 90s. And onto they stopped touring and being full time, but they still record from time to time. Features members who went on to or concurrently were in Tortoise and Freakwater, among other things. This is kind of it's an indie, a noisy indie rock sound, definitely in the vein of like a Sonic Youth type of thing. There's a very they remind me a lot of times of Neil Young and Crazy Horse. There's sort of some folky bits, then it gets, kind of loud, electric guitar work. Not that long ago, I stumbled into their album after this, which I am completely blanking on the name of. This is Eighth. I just stumbled onto that one used and then realized that this was super cheap to order. So I ordered a vinyl copy. I previously had a CD. This is their 8th album, I think, if you count a promo, a live album, and an EP or something like that. But anyway, their album Wayne especially, but all of their records that I've heard are well worth tracking down if you're an indie rock fan, or just kind of like noisy guitar rock stuff. Great lyrics, multiple singers and multiple lyrical perspectives. Definitely a band worth checking out. Next up here, Country Country Teasers, the Toe Rag Sessions. Country Teasers are a noise or garage rock, but with a heavy countryside band from England. They're often compared to like a twangy version of The Fall. Kind of some rambling lyrics that are often deliberately offensive, but sort of from a perspective to mock the offensiveness of it. This is out on Crypt Records, which is well known as a garage punk label. They put out their first 10-inch. This, I'm not 100% sure on the story of this, but from what I can gather from the liner notes, this is leftover stuff from their first 10-inch. Pretty good. Apparently, originally the band themselves, the main guy in the band, wanted to cut it down to be an EP's worth of stuff, so they put it out on a 10-inch. But the liner notes from the label head say, he would have done a full album, and he regrets not talking him into it. And I kind of agree. If you're into this kind of thing, these guys are fantastic. Really kind of demented and rude. They're often compared to like a Royal Trucks or a Butthole Surfers or a Ween, just kind of a real twisted take on a rock and roll sound. I happen to love this stuff. If you ever stumble by anything by them, check that band out. Another garage punk thing on similar labels like Crypt. These guys were mostly in sympathy for the record industry and actually got a major label release. This is in a cover of the entire first Devo album by Clawhammer. Whew. A little too much of that scotch, I'll tell you. Anyway, kind of a weirdo, raw take on it. Super entertaining. I mean, it is a cover of a whole album, so, obviously you're going to want the original one before you have that. And you'd probably rather check out Clawworks' original material, but that's definitely worth owning and enjoying. Another garage punk thing here. Had a few of those lately. This is the Oblivion's Best of the Worst. This is a collection of stuff from their singles. This is out on also Sympathy for the Record Industry. Oblivions were from Memphis. It was three guys, Jack, Greg, and Eric Oblivion. They all switched out playing drums and guitar and writing the songs. Super raw, just kind of like almost the gnarliest guitar tone I've ever heard. Raunchy stuff. Great band. I absolutely love these guys. I don't necessarily disagree with the title. Some of these songs, some of the album tracks I tend to like better, but there's some classics like Pill Popper on here that are among their best tracks also. It's a double LP. Super glad. I've had it on CD forever. I'm super glad to have scored it on vinyl. Now to move on to a metal realm, the new album by Midnight. The back, I'm just going to flash real quick, has kind of some raunchy aspects to it. It's on Ox Blood vinyl. Raw metal punk, they sometimes call it. Good and raw and rude. I think just with one quick spin, my initial impression was that I wasn't quite feeling this as much as their previous record, but I really liked the previous one. So there's definitely still room for this to be something I really enjoy. One of my favorites. If you ever catch these guys live, they're fantastic. And they put out a ton of stuff that's really cool. More metal for you here. Pig Destroyer, grindcore band, death grind. This is 38 counts of battery. This is the first time. This is a compilation of early tracks that was originally in CD. This is just black vinyl. This is the first time this has been released on vinyl. It's actually one of my favorites by the band. Good, really gnarly ass death grind. They're one of the best bands at it, so if you're into that kind of thing, you've probably heard of them. This is actually maybe my favorite of their stuff. Don't tell people who are prefer Prowler in the Yard, they get a little defensive about that. But that one, I just think something about that one I really love. Probably, you know, single, so there's sort of a real looseness to it that I think is pretty great. Next up, not heavy metal, but heavy metal dub. This is a repress of a Scientist album. It's actually a pretty chintzy repress. I ordered it without having seen it. It's actually, I don't know if I can quite get it into where you can tell, but the cover is actually a photo. It looks like of a beat up old copy. I know the originals are pretty hard to come by. It's pretty flimsy pressing. It does sound decent enough, and I'm glad to have it. I would definitely upgrade to original given a chance, though. But you know, if you caught my previous video, obviously I'm a fan of Scientist and dub reggae in general, and that one was a pretty great one. And then last for tonight, sorry I had a bunch of them, so I'm burning through a little faster even than I thought. But this is Clipping. This is released on Sub Pop Records. It is, however, not grunge or indie rock, but a noise experimental hip hop artist. It's on black vinyl. Nice big full triple gate fold out here. Similar to something like Death Grips, but kind of that's, you know, these are both very creative acts, so that's a super general comparison. Lots of noisy, kind of off-kilter beats, some really creative rhyming. If you're a fan of noise rock and of hip-hop, this would be a logical sort of bridge for you between the two. Their album from last year was one of my favorites. Maybe I'll get around to doing a favorites of 2019 now that it's getting real late. But their newer album is more of a horror movie influence thing. That's a little bit of a spookier vibe. This is maybe a little angrier. I'm not sure how I would just characterize the difference, but it's a self-titled album, or semi-self-titled. It's CLPPING. It's out on, like I said, it's out on Sub Pop Records. If you like weirder takes on hip hop, those guys are pretty fantastic, and you would probably be very, very into it. Anyway, hey, that's what I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks to support from, you know, all the guys out. Paniques, Rob from Boston, always comments, has wonderful things to say. Shout out to Metal Theologian. Shout out to Eric Weinbender and Tales from the Crate and everybody else who comments. Love hearing from you guys. Love seeing your videos. Thanks for watching, man, and we will talk to you guys later.